All right, we're going to start lesson 7 with a very important quote, so listen carefully. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. What a powerful statement. I think it's a perfect transition from our last video. Video 6 was about being competent. A lot of times leaders get a leadership position because they are competent, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But certainly competent people are a long ways from being a great leader. You also need to connect. This idea of forming relationships and connecting with others is so very important. In one of our first videos, I referenced a book by John Maxwell called 5 Levels of Leadership. The first level that he mentions is called position. That's when you're given a leadership position, and because of that, people will listen to you because they have to. The second level of leadership in his book is about relationships. In the beginning of the book, he talks about this level 2, which is called permission or relationships. Level 2, and I quote, is based entirely on relationships. On the permission level, people follow because they want to. When you like people and treat them like individuals who have value, you begin to develop influence with them. You develop trust. The environment becomes much more positive, whether at home, on the job, at play, or while volunteering. The agenda for leaders on level 2 isn't preserving their position. It's getting to know their people and figuring out how to get along with them. Leaders find out who their people are. Followers find out who their leaders are. People build solid, lasting relationships. You can like people without leading them, but you cannot lead people without liking them. That's what level 2 is all about. This video will explore the concept of connecting with others. And like the last 2 videos, we'll have 4 subcategories. The first is understand people. Great leaders just seem to get it. For those who don't have this skill, it might even look like a sixth sense. But in reality, leaders who are good with people are just really good at observing. They're going to notice those small details that others may not. It's really easy to be consumed with yourself. We have a lot to focus on with just ourselves that we often forget to think about others. Great leaders focus a lot on how others are acting and how they're feeling. This is information that you as a leader need in order to know what to do next. Think of it strategically, kind of like chess. How do you know what your next move is going to be? By observing the other player, his move, and what he might be thinking. So how do you improve in this area? Ask people questions. How are you feeling today? How can I help you? How did rehearsal go for you today? Oftentimes we have no clue what someone else is thinking, and we usually forget that we can simply ask them, and usually they'll tell us. The next subcategory is be charismatic. Charismatic is a word that we really don't use a whole lot. The Webster Dictionary definition is, quote, a personal magic of leadership arousing special popular loyalty or enthusiasm for a public figure. This isn't that positive of a definition, honestly. This makes it seem like it's all about you. Well, yes and no. Let's face it, to lead, you really need to be liked. At least most of the time, that is. People follow you because they trust you, and they're going to trust you because they like you. But let's take liking someone to the next level. Make it somewhat magical. You are a little larger than life, charming. People look up to you, sometimes with a bit of fascination. It's respect at an all new level. This is all okay. If you can get to this level, people work even harder for you because they're loyal and enthusiastic about who you are and what you represent. This can go in a very negative way also, so be careful. There's lots of public figures who have a cult following of sorts that can be very dangerous and certainly negative. There have been plenty of political leaders, religious cult leaders, and celebrities who are not only bad influences, but can be downright evil. They are charismatic, for sure, but they can use their political skill to brainwash people to do things that aren't in their best interests. I know you're not going to do any of that, but we can very easily lead people astray if we're not aware of the power of our influence. The third section is be a culture builder. I originally called this section be a cult builder, but everyone thinks of the word cult in such a negative way. In reality, cult is just a devotion to something or someone. But more than a devotion, a cult is a culture of very like-minded people. Cultures have a set of beliefs and characteristics that are unique to that group. It's a way to associate with one another in the group and to build trust with one another. In what ways do you build a culture? First, be consistent with the values and beliefs that the band has. You might even want to go back to the first few videos about values. Make these values unite your group, not divide it. Build up some consistency in the way you interact so everyone can feel comfortable with one another. Have pride in your group. Be proud of what you represent and be confident and deliberate with your actions. We all have cultures we belong to. If you don't build an appealing culture around band members aren't going to associate fondly with band, and instead associate fondly with some other activity or group of friends. There's nothing wrong with that, but unless you have a strong bond within the band, it's going to be really tough to get anything done. Lastly, effective leaders communicate persuasively. Let's look at that first part. Effective leaders communicate. That's right. They speak to one another and they listen to one another. Communication really is an art form. It takes a great deal of practice to get good at this. Make sure you take a lot of time to allow those in your group to speak to you and listen. Make sure that you're listening so that you can learn something from them. When we're listening to another person, we're typically not even listening at all, or at least not 100%. Most of us focus on thinking about what you're going to say next, formulating the ideas and sentences so we can jump right in there and take over the conversation. Stop doing this. Listen to the other person until they finish with their thoughts. Then pause. Take some time, think, and then carefully and deliberately respond. How do you persuade someone of something? Well, that goes back to influence way back in the second video. It also goes back to all the videos really that we've watched so far. You have to believe deeply in the product that you're selling. You have to be authentic. You have to genuinely care about the other person and you need to show it. You need to know a lot about what you're doing because no one is going to want to follow someone who's most definitely clueless. In band, we're selling an experience. You need to figure out how to inspire your section to want that great experience. A great experience comes from being competent, independent musicians. It comes from arriving to rehearsal prepared and giving it their all in performances. Our experience is about becoming better people, whether that's becoming more confident, more sociable, or more patient. What we're selling is truly an amazing product. To communicate persuasively, you need to think about what you're selling and why you stand behind this product. You can only influence those with whom you connect, and you can only connect with one person at a time. Don't try to connect with a group of people. Groups don't connect. People connect. Focus your attention on connecting with one person at a time. Whoever is around you or in a conversation with you, that's who you need to be focusing on right now. We have one more video left discussing our 4 areas of superior leadership, and that is command. Before watching the next video, I want you to take some time to reflect upon how you connect with others and what you can do to improve this very important skill.